Good night. Have one done tonight. God is good and God is good. So my name is Tommy Jill Spears Divine. I'm here to give you some news on tonight. And the topic gonna be raising your rent in DC. And pretty much all over the state. Rent pretty much been going up. DC tenant raising the rent. Resident and rent control, unit. So could soon see their rent increase. So DC Rental Housing Commission Chef George Lisa Gregory said during the oversight hearing in DC Council, Housing Committee, February the 9th, that the commission decision will become effective as of May the 1st. That's today. So I am also concerned, about conviction for residents, particularly the elders and disabled. Before eviction, anyone is about to get conviction. It should be 30 days. Before let them know 30 days ahead of time. So I request that 30 days ahead of time you let them know that the rent gonna increase. Let them know when conviction gonna be. I mean, just let them know 30 days ahead of time. You know, and sometimes that don't be enough time because it's hard to even try to find a place in 30 days. So Rental Housing Act of 1985 direct the Rental Housing Commission to determine the maximum allowable rent increase for rent control unit based on the areas consumed, the price, and pretty much it go by the area. Go by the zip code where you at. Depending on how much your rent gonna be. And just like with your car insurance, everything go by the area that you live in. So the area consumes the price index for the previous calendar year. So the law limit rent increase, to the rate of inflation, plus 2% and not more than 10%. Since the inflation is still high, you know, everything else is going high. Everything else is just going up. So that's why the minimum wage have to change. So not more than 10%. So by law, the Rental Housing Commission does not render its determination on allowable rent increase, but affordable for DC residents. So it's unclear how many rent, increase. Application have been filed with the Department of Housing and the Community Development. So they are taking application. Department of Housing, Community Development. For anyone that the rent is raising, or you being convicted to have this application that you can't fill out. So far this year, the landlord are required to give a tenant 30 days notice, before they raise the rent. So if they haven't told you in 30 days, they do have a law. So they're supposed to take 30 days before they decide they want to increase the rent. So rent. And I saw the rent for a one bedroom in DC, 2,000 and 450. So that is kind of high, and for them to increase it, when it's already 2,000 or something, it'd be almost 3,000. So that is kind of high. So I mean, they're gonna have to go up on the minimum wage. You're gonna have to get a raise. For the rent control law. It's a Rental Housing Act of 1985 as amended the act. Which is confined a DC official code under the act an apartment building or apartment complex. It's called a housing accommodation in a single apartment or house is called a rental unit. Sometimes they call it apartment complex or either called apartment unit. So RAD is a rental accommodation division. The act applies to all rental housing accommodation in a district of Columbia. Certain parts of the Act. Conviction, protection applied to district tenant. Title 2 of the Act is rent stabilized, which applies to any non-exempt rental unit. So all rental unit must be registered. So you have to register. If the landlord already told you that he about to increase the rent, and you can't afford it, you can start applying for these programs now. So either as a subject to the rent control or exempt for rent control for any unit that is not registered with RAD, rent control automatically applied. So you'll already be um, eligible for it. So all landlords should give tenant 30 days notice, before you raise their rent. Also, before condition, resident, particular elders and disabled, I request 30 days notice. So I have to follow and it may help register you in filing application for these programs. One, Department of Housing. Make sure y'all register and apply for these programs. Community development. And a form of Section 8 housing. Provides notice to tenants or adjustment. In rent. So this pretty much is a good program too. A program that help ensure that most new housing development include a certain amount of affordable units. So these three, you can apply now. If the landlord already told you he gonna increase the rent, you can start applying for these programs here. You can start applying for. So now we're talking about these channel. And this came to my attention on DC rental. But also it may be for all levels around. Somebody, the rent is going up, you find out in your district of these programs that you can apply for. Because the rent already 2050, 2050. So they about to increase that. So they're going, if the landlord already told you you're gonna increase your rent, you best to try to apply for these programs now. So the program I have is Department of Housing, Community Development, in a form of Section 8 provided. Notice to tenants of adjustment of your rent. And so pretty much Section 8, pretty much be good because it pretty much go by your income. So I don't know I don't know too much about the Department of Housing and Community Development. That's DC program. So you'll have to apply for that, and you also can apply for Section 8, whatever come first, it'll be a help to you. So that's all the show news I have for you today. Y'all have a blessed and safe night, and I'll see y'all in the next video.